I'll turn my volume up, and I will turn y'all's volume up, and right about there. Greetings and salutations, travelers. Welcome back to the Inn of Planar Crossroads. Today, we are back with our Around the Hearth series, and we are going to be talking about the blog posts by Paizo regarding 2nd edition, the Barbarian blog post first, and then the Skill Feats blog post after that. So, first off, our announcements. A quick disclaimer. This is an adult podcast that sometimes features some adults that use adult language. You have been warned.
Thanks, Dad.
The Pathfather has spoken. For another announcement, Patreon for both the Inn of Planar Crossroads and Black Dragon Gaming is going on right now. Patreon for Inn of Planar Crossroads is if we get up to $50 a month, we will do a rulebook giveaway that all of our patrons will be entered into. And if we get up to $100 a month, we're going to give away a Pathfinder 2e Playtest Special Edition rulebook that we already have on order. So, that will be very cool if we get to give that away. Like I said, today we're going to be talking about the Barbarian blog post first, and then the Skill Feats blog post after that. We have a subscriber giveaway. We made it to 200 subscribers here on the Inn of Planar Crossroads, so we're going to be able to run that promised 200 subscriber one-shot. Unfortunately, with things that came up, like personal stuff that came up for Colin, he's not going to be able to run it this time. We're going to push that off maybe till 400, which is our next one, which is our next subscriber one-shot giveaway. This time it'll probably be me or one of the other guild masters here at the Inn of Planar Crossroads. I believe that's everything that we have to announce. Tommy, do you have anything that you want to say about Black Dragon Gaming?
Nah, I got nothing. Well, I guess I should say, as always, that I'm happy to come out and do this stuff with you guys, and thanks to Adam for his support on Patreon, and Joe as well, and Kane, if he's back from washing his hands for editing my videos. You guys are part of the lifeblood of Black Dragon Gaming, but no, I don't think I have any announcements. I think I'm ready to debate how OP skills are in Pathfinder 2nd edition.
Yeah, welcome to the episode where I argue with Adam about skill feats.
I know, sit right?
Back and watch.
We're not doing that until after. We're not doing that.
We gotta get through the Barbarian first.
Yeah, Barbarian first. Bloodthirsty, at our throats debate after that. There we go. How about that?
After we rage.
After we rage.
We have to get it done in 3 rounds, or we'll be tired.
Yeah, we'll be tired for 1 round, and then we can do it again.
Okay. So, let's get into that then, since we're leading so easily into that segue.
Oh, we are.
The Barbarian class. What are we thinking? We got the basic preview that it gives us. Of course, they're going to be based around the rage mechanic. They're going to be wielding powerful weapons and blah, blah, blah. Something that they do announce that we'll talk about a little bit as we work our way through this is the totems. I think that it's cool that they brought in totems. But they seem to be making it quite a bit more flexible for the Barbarian as far as certain restrictions that they used to have. So, what's the feels on this one?
Okay, do we want to talk about stuff that we like first and stuff that we don't like, or do we just want to start at the top and work our way down?
Let's start at the top and work our way down. So let's start with the rage mechanic.
I don't like it. I think it's unbalanced. I think you can do it too often. I mean, in 1st edition, you can rage pretty much all the time after a couple levels anyways, because you have a good constitution because you're a barbarian. And, combats that last a long time at the table probably don't go past the 5th round, right?
Right.
Usually.
So assuming you're not constantly interrupting your adventuring party while they're trying to sleep, you're gonna get those rage rounds back.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, it's a resource that you're expending and it's finite. Right. And other systems, I mean, if you look at 5th edition, I think they just do a rages per day thing, and it lasts for the combat, much the same way the Inquisitor's Judgment function. You spend a swift at the beginning of the combat, and it lasts till the combat's over.
Right. You have to maintain damage in 5th edition. You have to either be damaged or attack. So there is something you have to do to maintain it.
But I think like a similar mechanic, if they're going to update it, should apply, where either you start it and it lasts till the combat is over, or it's your 3 rounds and then you're tired, but you get you get a number of uses of that ability per day or per hour, or you can do it once per encounter or something, to borrow a little bit from 4th edition. Like, there should be a number, not just every 24 seconds you cycle into a new rage for an entire day. That doesn't make any sense. That's a good way to make your heart explode.
Yeah, that's kind of my problem with it. As someone who deals with health and things like that, I come from a sometimes different perspective than others. And it agrees with yours that you get to do this for 3 rounds and then a fatigue. So up, 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 down. For infinity, basically. And you just can't... I liked the mechanic of it being tied to your constitution. It made both RP sense and mechanical sense, in the sense that your body can only handle so much punishment. You're running on adrenaline, is how it's kind of put out there when you are raging, and your body just can't handle being enraged all the time. I don't mind that it's got some kind of... I don't mind changing rage, just I'd like it to be changed in a way that made sense mechanically, and that was congruous with both mechanics and roleplay. So, Tommy might have a different opinion, or Joe might have a different opinion on it, but that's how I kind of feel about it.
I get where you guys are coming from, because that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense that you're putting your body through hell to do that. Barbarians are probably like... I probably say this about like every other class, but they're one of my favorite classes. But their biggest downfall, and why the Unchained Barbarian in 1E exists, is because when you hit that rage button, a lot of things on the character sheet would change, and you'd have to stop and like recount everything, to say nothing of sudden barbarian death syndrome. That is to say, you've taken a bunch of damage in rage, and then your rage runs out or the combat ends, and you have to stop and re-finagle your hit points, and I'm at neg 30. How'd that happen? Oh, I'm dead. And that's the end of the encounter. From the aspect of like, this is a game, I like that I have 3 rounds of rage and then I'm down for a round and then 3 rounds of rage. Though I will say, like we were talking about in IOPC's messenger thread, it feels kind of like a MMO buff with a quick cooldown and then you kick it back on again. That feels not like tabletop RPG to me, and that I don't like, but thematically also it's a lot less to have to track on the Barbarian. There's a lot less numbers floating around. It's just for 3 rounds, I have a buff to hit and a -1 to my AC, and then I have a debuff that I imagine like there's a trait. I imagine Heart of the Fields will exist in some way, shape, or form eventually, which was a trait in 1st edition for humans that was like, once a day, if you would be fatigued, you actually aren't. So you could rage cycle a little bit, to say nothing of like the cleric who restorations you, and then off you go again.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm thinking is, how is it really that much different from playing like a Gestalt barbarian paladin, or just a barbarian with a paladin in the group, or a human barbarian? There are ways to get around it in 1st edition. I think 2nd edition just has like accepted that, and accepted the fact that people are going to get around it.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to get around it, then why put in the arbitrary "you're tired" for a round? Like it should just be like you activate it and it's on for the combat.
I think it's part of it is the fact that they've accepted it, and I think part of it is the fact that they're trying to just mitigate the fact that people have to do it. I think they've accepted that people are going to do it, and they're rolling with it. They're running with it. They've taken the idea and they've just accepted it, and they're going to allow it.
Yeah. So there's no need anymore for the oh god, I can't think of the prestige class. The Rage Prophet, for like the true rage cycle that you had.
Well, you don't even need that. You just need enough levels in Oracle to become immune to fatigue.
Yeah, that too. One of these days I'll get down to playing an Oracle.
They're real good.
That's what I hear.
I mean, yeah, I suppose you make a point there. I think they could have implemented it better.
True.
Well,
I don't like the way that it's
implemented
written on paper right now.
Right.
Well, this is a playtest, so.
As someone who's had to build a barbarian recently for the grappler build for the tournament, I don't know. Though I don't think it's really fair to compare a single class to a Gestalt build in a playtest, because those aren't normal builds. Fair. You can't really. So you have to kind of compare it with multi-classing.
But I'm not comparing it to the Gestalt. I'm comparing it to first edition, which first edition.
Right.
A lot of people Gestalted it, and I may have brought up Gestalt, but I'm actually just comparing it to first edition, because I also brought up humans, and multi-classing applies as well with the Oracle and the Paladin, and also having a party, because I've said it a million times, but Pathfinder is not a game about building to be the best yourself. It's about building to be the best with everyone else. So if you're a barbarian, it's great to have a cleric or a paladin or a divine caster, or even an arcane caster who's casting restoration spells and stuff. And I think bringing up Gestalt, maybe that wasn't the best way to compare it, but then again, Gestalt is a part of the game.
Well, I don't know. I've never played a Gestalt, so I couldn't say if it's a big part of the game or not. With the build that I did, I took, and we'll probably release it on the IOPC eventually. You got Brutal Pugilist, which I only took for the grappling, and then the Martial Artist. All you had to do is multi-class into Martial Artist for about 6 levels, and you were immune to fatigue, and you got some sweet feats for it. You got some nice stuff for it. And you're rewarded for mastering the system. There's no need to master the system.
Welcome to Pathfinder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's 3.5 too. I mean, I might argue that Gestalt isn't a big part of the system. I think we're living with we've got 2 groups here that have a very different lived experience of the game, because I don't think I've done Gestalt since I played the last time I played 3.5. So that would have been 7 years ago.
That's a long time. Though I do want to do a dish call. Maybe that'll be what's on the one shot.
I've been playing D&D for a long time, Sonny.
So I don't know. Mixed opinions on the Rage from me. I see how Tommy's point is there with it being a part where it makes it mechanically, I mean, from just a mechanic standpoint, it's kind of fine. But from a roleplay or a lore standpoint, I don't really like it all that much. I would have appreciated it more if maybe you could do it for as many encounters as you have a con score, but that still doesn't, as you have a con bonus. But I don't know. That's kind of me on it. But what about...
It does feel kind of kitschy.
Yeah. What about
it does
totems?
Feel like an MMO.
It does, yeah. What about totems?
Okay, so we've got some mixed opinions on the Rage. So like Adam said, let's just move on to totems.
Totems. I like totems. I think it's cool.
I like them too. That was one of my favorite parts about Barbarians in 1E, and that's it's Barbarians and Rogues that I think are defining second edition in terms of all the classes have class feats now, and first edition that was Rogue Talents or Rage Powers, or Alchemist got this, or Oracle got that, etc., etc. And the Barbarian had a lot of really powerful totems. It could get Pounce, it could get limited versions of Lycanthropy, it could get pseudo magical stuff like wings, or it could increase its reach, get weird DR. But
yeah, but you had to pick one even then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, there was an archetype, I'm pretty sure, that lets you take more than one.
It was a pseudo-archetype called Totem Warrior that didn't actually change anything. There might have been another archetype that you're aware of that I'm not.
No, I'm thinking Totem Warrior.
Yeah,
because Totem Warrior was just the one they released with the book that had the Totem Rage powers in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the Totem Warrior, from what I've seen in the threads, it doesn't actually let you take more than one. I think that was some kind of misinterpretation. So I don't know why. It's one of those things where everybody should be a totem warrior. If you're not, you should all be a totem barbarian, because it does nothing. It takes nothing away from your class. It just lets you have access to this. So every barbarian.
Yeah, and everyone took beast totem anyways because it was the best one because it gave you pounce.
Because you got pouts, yeah.
So there you go.
I like that totems in 2nd edition are going to have anathema. I didn't expect that coming.
I like
barbarian.
it.
I like that flavor.
We're kind of shoehorning it in, but this is a really good time to say that I really like that the barbarians can be lawful now. There's no longer an alignment restriction on them because that made no sense at all.
Oh, it made some sense. It made sense.
I don't think how much you believe in law enforcement should dictate how angry you get.
Lawful neutral is honor, and honor is that's the barbarian, right? That's what I see in my head when I see a barbarian tribal society.
I don't know. I kind of liked
the Celts.
I kind of liked that.
Well, lawful good would
anything.
Be honor. Lawful neutral would be order above morality.
I personally kind of liked that you could be.
It takes for the tribe to survive the winter and not be eaten by saber-toothed cats.
Even if that means eating each other.
Yeah. There you go. He did it.
I kind of liked the whole no lawfuls, because you submit to the rage is kind of the idea behind the rage, is that it's not something that is necessarily ordered. But that said, I understand why they're not, because you can do a lot of fun stuff with your anger. You could flavor it. If you're going to pair it with a paladin, you could always flavor it as that you have a righteous indignation, or that you have some kind of rage that is fueled by your deity, or your deity's rage overcomes you, and things like that. So I see the flavor in it. Yeah, I see the flavor in it. So I'm not necessarily against it. It's not like with my feelings on the paladin. I liked the flavor that came with being non-lawful.
It's become a paladin thread. We've done it.
Now, any alignment thing turns into a paladin, turns into a lawful good question. But that aside, I don't really have a problem with it. So
that's fair.
But the totems are cool.
They are.
I do like the anathema.
Yeah, because they've done a little, because they mentioned in the blog post they do a little bit of both. So you have where is it? You have some. I'll just say they have some totems, like the giant totem that has a strict anathema, like you're not allowed to refuse personal challenges of strength and stuff. But they also have other totems that, like the Fury totem, which don't have an anathema at all and focus on different things. I like that they made sure that the totems that you got as a barbarian, you had the option of either following a strict, Law of the Jungle style barbarian code, or doing your own thing, like Adam said, submitting to the rage. I feel like the Fury totem is definitely a you submit to the rage style barbarian totem.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be kind of interested, because in Pathfinder 1st edition, a lot of the feats for dwarves, oddly enough, focus around how angry dwarves are just as a species.
Yeah.
I would think I might be interested to play a dwarven barbarian in 2nd edition and take the Fury totem and just become so angry that maybe he can't, maybe even he just can't tell friend from foe, and you just gotta you shove him into a room and piss him off and just back away.
Suddenly you are the 3.5 frenzied berserker.
Yes.
Or there is a Pathfinder build for that. No one takes it because you always want to know who your friends are.
Yeah, because you don't want to be that guy.
Oh,
sometimes you want to be that guy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I TPK'd the party because I couldn't tell the wizard from the bad guys.
I think the 2nd edition barbarian does that too.
Yeah. We skipped over a little thing in the rage that's super relevant. since you can rage stops you from using the concentrate action unless they specifically have the rage trait, which means that somatic only spells are possible while you're raging. So the Scald is built right into the Barbarian in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and I really like that.
Well, are the Barbarians going to have magic, though? Or is this
They
like
can if they
something
multi-class.
that they...
They can if they multi-class.
I think it'll
Okay,
depend
that's what I
on
mean.
the
Like,
totem, too.
is there going to be an option, like a rage power or something, however they do that with Barbarians in 2nd Edition, that gives them magic? Or is that like a stipulation made specifically so that you can rage and still have access to some spells if you multi-class?
I think somewhere in here it
I would
legit
like to see
mentions...
spells get put in for sure, because the Blood Rager it's another, like, I GM'd for a Blood Rager. He's here right now for a long time, and there's, like, that class is a very near and dear place to my heart because it's really good. And if we can just like take the Scald, take the Blood Rager, take the Barbarian, and new class called the Barbarian, that'd be super sweet.
Which is what we're seeing a lot of in 2nd Edition.
Yeah, for sure.
Is
A
taking the
combination.
similar classes and making them dissimilar. But you were saying, Adam?
Well, there are... I think it's flat out mentions that there are some almost magical things. They use the words... here it is. Some of the totems, like Animal Totem, Giant Totem, and Dragon Totem, offer a few abilities that are flat out magical. So that's probably why they had to do that.
Yeah, I had to go back and double check that when I was recording my video, which goes up Tuesday morning. I'm not sure when this goes live, but the 1st edition Dragon Totem did the same thing for the Barbarian. Well, it gave you wings at some point, maybe not necessarily the same thing, but it's the totem ported.
But I think we're seeing an upgrade to the Superstition Totem, because there were the Superstition Rage powers in 1st edition that gave you a bunch of bonuses against magic and enchantments, and I think eventually you could pair it with some feats that let you like cut spells in half. It was really cool. Very anime. But the Barbarian is basically an anime character anyways. But the Superstition Totem, I think I might try out. I don't know how I feel about giving up my access to buff spells.
That sounds super.
Well,
It depends on the party, I guess.
It does say specifically that you can never willingly accept the benefits.
Yeah, no,
of
they can
buff
still
spells.
cast them on you, but that depends on how crappy I'm willing to let my will/fortitude save be.
Well,
Everybody
see what
hold down
happens.
Carl, make him eat his buff spell, and then let him loose.
Oh, you definitely could have done it to Ark. He had a bad brain. He was a dog.
Well, see what happens is you let them rage for a
Brain
couple
bad.
rounds, and then you cast it on them while they're fatigued. There you go.
That's fair, I guess.
Got disadvantage on the saving throws. I rolled a 2. No, gets your filthy witchcraft off me. Ah!
Low
I really
magic
like the idea of
setting.
the Superstition Totem. I don't know how late game this would be, but I really like the idea of a barbarian headbutting his way out of a force cage. Like,
Yep, that would be super sweet.
It's pretty hilarious.
you can't hold Throg.
That's pretty hilarious. I do. I like the superstition-based superstition totem as well, at least from what I'm seeing of it. Dragon totem looks cool too because it gives you a breath
A
weapon.
fly speed and a breath weapon.
Yeah, I mean even the
That's
breath
the
weapon
most
would just be
iconic.
worth
I
it.
think everybody's going to be latching onto the Draconic Barbarian, just like they do like Draconic Sorcerers. Guilty as charged, but
Draconic sorcerers are just flat out good, but
Everyone likes dragons. They named the system after it for a reason. Not this system, but the popular one.
Dungeons and Frost Giants. And roll off the tongue.
Love me a good pants.
I don't know what Joseph said, but I heard everyone likes pants.
I said
Everyone's-
pants.
We found the path.
We found that.
Joe knows what I'm talking about.
Half-blooded sorcerer.
Half-blooded sorcerer. There you go. It's like their
I used to be
meta
a road.
golem thing.
Yeah.
So they got some additional features. That's where they talk about not having to be chaotic. I still kind of like I said, I still kind of like the idea, the feeling behind a chaotic barbarian, though this does free it up a bit to make Conan the Barbarian a bit more. Yeah, you still
I
can.
don't think it's a put down, Joe. I'm just like, no one's gonna, just because you're allowed to be lawful now, no one's gonna hold you down, Adam, and be like, you gotta follow, you gotta love Jesus and scream at people.
he gets.
You know, on that note, that actually opens up a Barbarian Paladin multi-class right there. You can do it without
it's
like having
core
to
now.
buy your GM snacks first. You don't have to you don't have to show up at the session with like M&Ms and brownies and sodas and stuff and just, I built this character. Have this food. Don't look at my sheet.
Yeah, you hear that? You hear that, Oppers, Pathfinder 2nd Edition Optimizers? I want to see a Google Doc called "I love Jesus and I scream at people" for the Paladin Barbarian.
We'll work on it on min-maxing for fun and profit.
Min-maxing for fun and profit. I'll consult on that one.
I love Jesus and I'll scream at people.
I'll consult on that one.
Okay.
Deal.
I've never been to your sermons before, but I think I have an idea what they're like now.
No, you can hear my sermons on the Gentle Voice YouTube, so I mean you can tell how I talk now is how I usually talk. But anyway, they still get their 12 hit points per level, stuff like that. I think they've said, or that they've insinuated, that it's max HP per level or something like that, kind of like
that's
Starfinder. That seems to be what they're doing.
Which I'm fine with. I'm cool with that, since I automatically max out monster HP anyway.
I think most people do max hit points in their games. Like, I remember, this is Joe will remember this one too, way back a million years ago. In the game where I played my Elf Barbarian, the GM, his argument for why everybody should have max hit points was because it feels really bad to have, like, gone through everything you've gone through and built up everything you built up and blase, and then you go to roll for hit points and you roll a 1.
Yeah,
super rough.
I've never liked rolling for hit points. That just seems way too random to me to be as
and I have friends who play the game who like will fight tooth and nail for rolling hit points, and I don't get it. I don't see where the fun in that lies. And weirdly enough, he's the same one of my friends who I've known forever, who we talked into playing a druid with a wisdom of 13.
Oh, why would you do that to someone?
Because we rolled stats and we were doing 46 down the line, and he just rolled garbage 6 times, and like 13 was his highest stat.
13 was his highest stat?
His highest stat.
All of his stat puts in. Oh, hey, Donald is here.
Yeah, Donald showed up about 15 seconds ago.
We're talking about the Paizo blog for Barbarians, and then the one for Skill Feats. So right now we're in
about
Barbarians.
Halfway through the Barbarian right now. The thing I noticed in here is there's something about them getting resistance equal to their Constitution modifier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem like a lot. And I don't know how that's, like, if it's like a resistance, like you take, like, your con modifier times 10 is your resistance? Like energy absorption or something? Like you can absorb 30 points of fire damage or something before it wears out? Because, like, having fire resistance 3 is real
bad.
Lame.
Yeah, well, resistance is DR in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, so if I get, like, resistance to slashing, and I'm taking... I think that's... No, it's equal to con, yeah, you're right. So if I'm missing out on 4 or 5 points of slashing, especially in, like, the lower magic settings, that seems really good.
No, if resistance is damage reduction in 2nd Edition, that's much better. I thought it was, like...
No,
it's
like
specific. Fire resistance, like energy resistance.
It specifically mentions one typing, does it not?
Yeah, I think you choose the typing. It might be in accordance with your totem. I'm not sure. I'm hoping that it's modal, and after like as the fighter is retraining his specialization, you can retrain that, because then that makes you just as good as him.
I'm trying to look at it here. What place you get it? One of the things that you do see in here is that they get. The best proficiency, best fortitude proficiency.
And they get fortitude evasion, which is Juggernaut, I think is what they called it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is cool. That's cool. Very flavorful. I can dig it.
Especially considering in Pathfinder 1st Edition, or 2nd Edition rather, like how gnarly poisons are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and having master proficiency in fortitude at level 7.
Mm-hmm.
Was it
which counts all of your successes as critical successes, and then improved. That's Juggernaut, and then improved Juggernaut at 13th gives you legendary proficiency in fortitude,
and
removes the chance of critical failure, which is good. Like I don't think that's super broken. I think that, like, because it means that failure is still an option.
Right.
It just means that you're so angry that poison can't kill you, is what I'm getting out of this.
Right. And, well,
You're
their
so
body's
angry
in
that you learn
such
the
a
art of the
shape,
tourniquet
too.
on the fly. You just wrap that tourniquet, off we go. Oregon Trail.
I feel like your blood pressure is so high at that point. You try to turn the tourniquet and you just and it's gone.
You spray the blood out.
Having DR based upon your Constitution modifier, I think in first edition the Barbarian through the Rage powers you get DR already from that, but I could be wrong. I never played Barbarians before.
Sorry,
Well, in first edition, Barbarians do get a DR bonus, but if you really want to level into damage reduction, you want to take Invulnerable Rager and then a bunch of other Rage powers. And there's
even then you couldn't get it that high.
Yeah, you can get it decently high. DR, I don't know what ARCs is, but I think it's like DR. It's somewhere between DR 16 and DR 20, and that's nothing to turn your nose up at.
I thought you could only get up to like 8 or 9. That's not bad.
And it's a flat DR.
The DR 10, 15, 20, that is equivalent to Monster DR.
Oh yeah, no, like by 20th level, by end game, you can have your DR up pretty high, like high enough that getting hit by a bunch of multi-attacks isn't terrifying.
If I remember, I think there are variant golems that have DR 15 or 20 against non-magical weapons, so that's pretty good for a Barbarian to have DR 20.
Yeah, because Barbarian DR is DR dash, so it's against everything.
All the things, yeah.
And I think I remember reading in here that it will also I'm trying to find that spot where it talked about it, but I guess I just don't see it. Something to think about on the additional Barbarian features that we do see listed is that they do get some secondary will focus as far as that goes.
For Indomitable Will.
Mm-hmm.
And Tireless Rage, which you get at 17th level, which also tracks in first edition. I think that's when you get Tireless Rage.
I think that's correct, yeah.
But that's when you, like, vanilla Barbarian are allowed to Rage cycle, is like level 16, level 17.
Yeah, but in second edition, you just... the one that just, like, when you are fatigued, you're not fatigued, but you can't, like, you still have to wait that round before
you still have to wait that round, which I think is kind of arbitrary.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the way they want to do it, like, that doesn't bother me. If I'm willing to accept the 3 rounds and you're tired, 3 rounds and you're tired, then 3 rounds of not being tired is just... Alright, I mean, I'll take not being tired, I guess. I don't know how bad being tired is going to be in second edition.
We also don't know how good the rage is. We know it's a -1 penalty to AC, temporary hit points, and a damage increase, but we don't see, like, exact numbers.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that they specify temporary hit points. That's why all the Barbarians I make now are unchained, because I've been killed by Barbarian sudden death syndrome too many times to not want the temporary hit points over the real hit points.
That's when you take Raging Drinker, and then you drink a hit potion and stuff.
You just start downing an 8-pack of cheap beer until the cleric can get to you.
But I did see something in here that I thought was really cool, and maybe potentially very powerful for the Barbarian, is that let me see. For instance, at 3rd level, Barbarians gain critical specialization effects when in rage, even if they don't fulfill the proficiency rank requirement for the weapon. They use whatever weapon is most efficient to express their rage. So that is cool. Yeah, that's kind of
all those critical
cool.
proficiencies those only activate if you crit with the weapon, right?
Correct.
But they get those. They basically get the equivalent of expanded crit while raging.
Yeah, because this is going to be the crit feature of Pathfinder 2nd edition, because you just got to hit 10 over the AC, and that's a crit. So
that's true.
And with their boost to hit and damage,
that weapon. Wait, you're full base attack. Yeah, well, you're not full base attack, but you're a marshal, so you're probably going to be decently good at doing that.
Yeah, if hitting 10 over the AC is a crit, then I can easily see builds for the Barbarian to take advantage of that half the time.
Oh yeah, no, the crit fishers in 2nd edition are going to be the people they're going to be the fighters who take all the like weapon focus and greater weapon focus that only they can take, and like the whatever like
Debuff
expanded
rogues will do it
critical or improved critical is going to be in second edition. Like it's going to be the fighters and the barbarians. I think are going to be the people who stack really heavily into critting all the time.
Yep.
Rogues too.
Yeah, two feats that I want to have for second edition when it comes to casters is to have spell focus and then the improved version of it for the caster that want to spec into magic using more than compared to melee, such as a non melee focus cleric.
Right. Well, spells work a little bit different in second edition too, so I'm not, because you have degrees of failure. You have degrees of failure so that if someone fails a save, they fail it by certain degrees. They either critically save, critically fail, save, or fail. So there's 4 things that you got going.
Having the DC increased by a bit definitely will help min-max or at least optimize the caster to be on par with a melee build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also, I guess it's worth noting as well that like the barbarian will be better in second edition in the same way that like all the martials are going to be better in second edition because of that 4 degrees of success. Like the barbarian doesn't just straight up die to hold person like the barbarian dies to hold person in Pathfinder first edition.
Having a decent will save in second edition is great because if I remember correctly, barbarian weaknesses, unless if you build to counter this weakness, barbarian will saves, they are not that great.
Yeah.
You get a bonus when you're raging, and you get that here too in second edition. That's going to be the reflex save, it looks like.
It will be interesting to see if, when it comes to their saves, if when you're going through your rage cycling, because everybody's going to rage cycle now. The rage cycle is built into the class now, based upon that, which, again, I don't necessarily like that, but it's there. So, rage, down. All the bad guy has to do is wait, there's a rage, there's a rage, there's a rage, this round hold person.
Yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Well, it is if you're the barbarian. It's probably a bad thing. But the barbarian in first edition was very, very, very powerful. Like, again, I'm gonna bring up Hangouts real quick. From my perspective, it's Donald hasn't played one, then I see Doncut, then I see Arkarl is in here right now, then I see Zort, then I see Two Moons, or Rurikthar, if you want to count my Gestalt, Blood Rage, or Druid. Class is real good at putting down pain.
The nameless barbarian I played when I was playing Doncut, but it was O'Brien.
Pumpkin?
And yeah, well, I call him Pumpkin now. Jumping on top of a saber cat, like one-shotting him with a fragile bone spear.
With a pre-gen that I made for an end-of-game Cthulhu encounter that you eventually just cheat by casting Mindscape spells. And the chick on the Titanic suddenly grows a huge wizard beard. And O'Brien was there. I missed that game. That game was a lot of fun. I could reboot it a third time on BDG, I suppose.
I like some of the barbarian feats I'm seeing. They get sudden charge. They get a low-level sudden charge, which is not bad. As far as
they have to, because charging's gone now.
Mm-hmm.
Like charging as we know it in 1E.
Yeah, charging as we know it in 1E. Everybody has spring attack. You know, one action to move, one action to attack, one action to move again. You can do that in second edition.
Which reminds me of a discussion we have to have at the beginning of tomorrow's episode.
About Magpie. About Shadow Dancers in Pathfinder First Edition and how busted they can be if you don't understand stealth.
He's still busted. I mean, they're still going to have to roll to see him, and it's not likely to happen.
Yeah. We'll get to it later.
Shadow Dancers.
We still have to fight about skills. We have to have that really long argument and realize we all hate each other the week before most of us are going to meet.
Brutal critical's cool because criticals and that's one of the things where I think that whole thing where they can pick up any weapon and be able to access its abilities, basically its critical abilities. They could pick up
that's really cool.
A high level weapon, not meet the requirement, and wreck shop with all of the level equivalent baddies that they're supposed to be fighting. And that's when you as a GM are going to have to do something about that.
Well, I mean, yeah, why'd you let that barbarian get rage in the presence of that high-level equipment?
Because
What'd you going to do that for, Adam?
Because they killed the high-level NPC that was supposed to... They chased it and killed it when they were supposed to, you know, just be interacting with it and worried about it. No, they just straight up marched right in and then there you go. And then they get all that awesome loot that person had, and then now they're running around with high-level loot that the barbarian is critting with this great sword.
I'm sorry,
with this big
man.
bad guy.
My 6 charisma orc doesn't want to interact with the creature. She isn't a spoiler. She dies and gets eaten. That's how that works.
To be fair to you guys, I'm not specifically talking about you or a specific instance, so they didn't do that, viewers. They didn't do that.
I can talk about a specific instance where my barbarian snuck up on an NPC.
Barbarian for Adam, because that's definitely something I would do.
I remember back in the day, Joe was playing a cleric, I was playing a barbarian, and the GM let us take 20 on checks. So I took 20 on we all took 20 on our stealth checks against a level 20 sorcerer, and he rolled for his perception and failed, and so at level we gained like 4 levels. We were like level 5 or 6, and we get the drop on this dude and just destroy him. It was amazing. It was like Krampus knocked level amazing. Except mine was by the books. That was Matt, but we digress.
You can't really take
Hi, Matt.
20 on that, but because it takes 20 minutes to take a 20. So anyway, now
very slowly,
so slowly. Now let's get to the Feats of Skill blog, which we all have opinions about. Okay.
All right. Should we do this where like Tommy or Adam complains about it, and then I'm like, that's not a big deal. Should we just set that up so I can knock it down?
Okay. So here, let's do it this way. So it talks about that everybody's going to get goodies when they level up. Everybody's going to get 10, except for the rogue, of course, who gets 20 because they're supposed to be the skill monkey, which I'm still worried about for the bard. I'm worried for the bard. I don't want him to get shafted in 2nd edition. But
there's so much concern there. I'm worried for the bard.
Going off of first attack and for bards to rogues, I think bards will have like 15, maybe, but I could be wrong.
I think bards are going to get other stuff.
I hope so.
I think second edition bard is going to get other.
Maybe
they're going to get skill stuff, or they might qualify for certain skill feats like for free, in much the same with the way that the barbarian is qualifying for feats for free when he rages.
Maybe they'll make the bards the counter spellers of this particular version. That would be cool. That would be
that would be interesting. Yeah. Every bard is a Sam Riegel bard.
Counterspell.
Eat it, Vecna.
You can, but it also says you can always take a skill feat instead of a general feat. So that means anybody, when they're leveling up, could also take these as a general feat.
Yeah, but that will hurt you in the long run if you regardless of how crazy some of the skill feat stuff is. If I'm not taking the system equivalent of power attack, vital strike, 2-weapon fighting, combat reflexes, blase, to have all these skill feats, it would hurt me in combat to do so. So I don't think a lot of people do that.
You're running a combat heavy game. Maybe I want to run a game that's got a lot of social politics in it, which I'm terrible at. So I wouldn't want to do that. But maybe you do.
I'm terrible at it as well. Oh man, we're gonna just fight stuff.
I just want to see the rogue with 40 skill feats.
That'd be hilarious.
With the amount of skill feats you can get for a party that know what they're going to be having from session 0 onward, it's not going to be an issue. But when it comes to random play for people who play in, say, something like Pathfinder Society or something like that, I can see this being a bit of an issue at times.
I don't know if I'd call Pathfinder Society random play, especially if you go all the time. Because I only went.
That depends.
I mean, I went to a Pathfinder Society session once, and I still ended up playing the same module twice.
Damn.
So yeah, I mean, so society play, you can play with the same with the same group all the time, but most of the time it is drop in and play type of game.
That depends. Like if you got a bunch of friends and your LGS has society and you guys all play it, then versus like, should there happen to be PFS at St. Louis Comic Con when we're all there and we all decide to randomly roll up some PFS? I don't think we will. Well, we might.
We got other games to play, man. We don't have time. We don't have time.
We do. We really do. But I get what Donald is saying. I do. And that's kind of part of the reason why I try to keep my session zeros a little on the vague side so people can't build into that meta. Yeah. Because some of the skill feats in Pathfinder 2nd Edition are, and I'm kind of taking what I'm saying here tempered from my comments over the weekend on the video. They're kind of like, to say it one way, they're kind of yellow feeds. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? For the guides you can find for characters. Like, it's really, really, really good, especially in a system where fall damage is so freaking lethal, to be able to take no fall damage, to have slow fall like a month.
We're not there. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Okay. So
the only other system I can think of that has really lethal fall damage is actually Edge of the Empire for Star Wars.
Fair enough.
If you've ever played it, has super lethal fall damage. But like every other dude and his dog has a fucking jetpack.
Yeah.
So, assurance and other shared feats are something that kind of needs talked about, because I think this is going to be a little problematic, in my opinion. The idea of assurance, you got to spend a feat on it. It says some skill feats are shared among multiple skills. One that will send out for risk-adverse players is assurance, which allows you to achieve a result of 10, 15, 20, or 30, depending on your proficiency rank, without rolling. So, I looked it up. In the proficiency blog, they talk about legendary proficiency is found at the earliest. The earliest you can get legendary proficiency in something is level 15. So you could arguably roll above a 30 with legendary proficiency. I would kind of hope so, that you're getting something close to above a 30.
I mean, yeah, because when you're rolling skill checks, it's D20 plus class level plus proficiency plus mod, I think, is how the system works.
But
yeah, I mean that waits to be seen yet. But just to compare to First D really quick, like Magpie makes stealth checks in the 40s pretty regularly,
and that's
but it's a different meta too.
Well, yeah, but that's also at level 8.
9.
Level 9, 10, 11, if you optimize a certain class scale, such as perception. In one game, I have perception all of the time over 30, 35, and we are at level 11.
To say nothing of how easy it is to get like intimidate or diplomacy into the stratosphere with the right amounts of jumping around.
What this also
speaking
is...
of Intimidate, I need to ask Joseph about his Intimidate lockdown build.
Not now. That's later. It's later.
After the call. We got 2 minutes until 8 o'clock. We're going to have to jam this all in right now.
Okay. Go.
The idea of... My situation starts to rise of... I start to think, well, how high are these DCs going to be? I mean, because you get... That 30... When you look in modules and stuff like that, at least the ones they've put out, and this is comparing two different systems, because the skill system in 2nd edition is not the skill system in first edition, but still a DC 30, and you can just take 30, seems kind of a lot. Because if you take 30 and then add the stuff you're supposed, I mean, you just take the result at 30. Excuse me. That's kind of a lot.
It's a lot, but a lot of one of my patrons actually, he was commenting on. I'm actually going to bring up his comment really quick on the subject of this because it was really, really on point. It's not necessarily it probably will be easier to crit things like for example, if you need a DC 10 acrobatics check to get over a thing, and you're like, I'm going to take 30. Look at me go. Ha ha! But there aren't, like, we don't see a lot of really crazy crit effects for critting a skill check. So I think mostly it is there in combination, like, to prevent shoelacing, as Kane would put it, to prevent throwing dice at the table when it's an arbitrary check, and also to make sure that, like, some characters in the clutch can come through, because you can choose to take 30 even if you're debuffed, like, to bejesus and back. You can still bring it right back up. But
you're not necessarily going to be using skill feats in combat, so that's a thing to consider. And also, according to the blog, it says automatic 30 are pretty. And the kind of things you can achieve with an automatic 30 are pretty significant, worthy of legendary proficiency. If we're working off the same DCs...
That's what we're getting at. Since legendary proficiency you're not going to see before 15th level. But if there's any multi-classing going on in there, you're probably not going to see it till after 15th. And, like, during the last 4 to 5 levels of play, people with magic are going to be doing crazy, outlandish, off-the-wall bullshit like that all the time anyways. So letting your rogue jump off a skyscraper
okay, so we keep dancing around this. Let's look at the feat, okay? Scaling feats. So the scaling feat Scaling Feats talks about a feat called Catfall that you must be trained in acrobatics to take. Your cat-like reflexes, blah 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 blah. Treat all falls of 10 feet as 10 feet fewer. If you are an expert in acrobatics, it goes to 25 feet shorter. If you're a master in acrobatics, it goes to 50 feet shorter. And if you're legendary in acrobatics, you always land on your feet, which means you're not prone when you fall. And you don't take damage regardless of the distance of the fall. I looked it up. Monks don't get that until 20th level in Pathfinder 1st Edition. Not only that...
A slow fall any distance?
Yep. That's a 20th level ability that you're getting at 15th.
Well, they had to
that's not that bad. Then you're getting something 5 levels early. That's still
5 levels early? That's... I don't know. I play different games than you guys, because it takes forever to level up in my games.
To give you an example, if you're playing a ranger who sword and boards, you can get Shield Master 6 levels early.
Okay,
yeah,
but here's the difference.
Also, a lot of games don't go to 20th, so I think it's relevant to note that, like, I realize after becoming a YouTuber that I've been very spoiled by having a group that's like been together as long as Joe and I have now, because we're the only surviving members of that group, and now we have y'all. But, like, 20th level plus was a very common thing in our metas, and it's not for a lot of people. A lot of games will end from, like, mid to high-ish level play. So if you can grab this like awesome end game thing 5 levels before awesome end game thing, I think that's fine. I will say still it's really powerful for that side of the character.
You only have to take this. It's a first level feat. You have this all
but then
through
you have
your
to have
thing.
the proficiency though.
And you
can't have, like, I don't think it lets you jump from the skyscraper, land on your head, and survive at level 1.
Well, if you
that's
get
a little like, whoa.
If you go to the trouble of getting acrobatics, even if you don't have it from your thing, you take it as a first level feat. Maybe you say, I'm trained in acrobatics. 2nd level, you take Catfall. By 3rd level, you can cast Levitate on your enemies. They get a will save, but you can make them go up 20 feet around. You spend as many rounds as you want to and drop them. If someone tries the same thing on you, it doesn't work.
That seems just as abusable as the pit spells in 1st edition.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I think Catfall's going to be a staple, because I'm not necessarily worried, I mean, I guess I am, about, like, again, jumping off, like, the Arc of Aridin and then contacting the ground and you survive it. It's more like the fall of 50 feet does 50 damage in Pathfinder 2nd edition, which is a lot more than the, like, 5, more likely probably 4 d6 that scratches you. as you fall 50 feet and you just kind of like brush it off, stand up, you took 14 damage, la la la, go about your day. Now it's 50.
Right,
now that hurts a lot harder. So it's like,
Also,
I feel like Catfall will be a staple, and also for like create pit spells, things like that like the wizard causes you to fall.
and then create pit won't have any effects on the first level character that takes Catfall.
Yeah, but that you're assuming that every first level character is going to take Catfall, which isn't going to be true. Your fighter's not going to take Catfall. I guarantee you. He's too busy taking fucking shield focus or whatever the equivalent is.
That's probably fair.
I have to ask in second edition, because we don't know these things yet, or maybe we do and I've just forgotten the blog. How do you become trained in a skill? Is that dependent on your class, or is that a choice you make when you're building your character?
You can do it when you're
dependent on the
get your
class
character
with a combination of like there's skill feats.
Can
also like if you want to be trained in a thing, take a skill feat. Otherwise, it's class dependent. I'm pretty sure.
It depends on your.
I think background dependent as well.
It's your ABCs.
Yeah.
It's your ancestry, your background, and your class determine what skill feats you get.
So you are spending resources to become trained in acrobatics, even if that means selecting a class that becomes trained in it.
Or
so
like
you take this feat.
Pickpocket background probably has it.
So you take this feat, and like you're not going to be able to negate falling damage until 15th level at the earliest.
At least fall damage of any distance.
And like, yes. So 10 feet or fewer, that's good. 25 feet or fewer, that's also good. 50 feet, falling off a cliff is going to be survivable, but it's not going to be fun.
Yeah.
And I think that becomes really what the scare is in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, is like you fall off a building or a cliff or off the side of a mountain, you fall 200 feet to your death because you only have so many hit points.
Yeah.
And you
you imagine like the spells like create pit, hungry pit, etc., etc. As you cast them at higher levels, the pit will likely be deeper.
Yeah.
Well, what I would think
you're going to fall, and you might survive falling off a cliff, but you're not going to have a good time. You're a rogue. You're a rogue. You don't have that many hit points. So from 15th level onward, where you're like, I knocked him off the mountain, and he survives the fall. He's still at the bottom of a fucking mountain.
Accurate. Yeah.
The thing I would say about it is that if I don't want to just be hating on it, so if I was to fix it, I would say on a critical success you could negate all fall damage, or on just on a success, just like on succeeding an acrobatics check, you could save that character. Otherwise, it would be 100 feet. 100 feet on a critically failed save, you still negate 100 feet or something like that, and you can negate the whole thing, but.
Adam, one of my favorite spells in first edition, which I want to see coming back to second edition, it is Featherfall.
Which it will.
It will. It totally will.
100%. We're gonna see Featherfall in second edition, and that's this feat at 15th level is a constant Featherfall effect.
I mean, before 15th level, have casters have access to Featherfall without needing to use that.
Yeah, no, I get that, Donald. I'm saying like this feat basically represents.
I know what
constant Featherfall.
I know what you're getting at that feat. You will have it, but it's the other classes that don't have that Featherfall, or having access to it would be great. Based upon the group.
I don't know. As a GM, I don't necessarily like that a significant environmental effect that you put in there to make it more interesting for your characters can just be simply negated, not through a spending of a resource, not through making a good check, but just by having a single feat, a single thing that you took way back.
In that defense, by level 15. If you're challenging the party with like cliffs and things, that's either you are the lowest of, like, you're even like beyond Joe's low magic level, like you are a 10-point buy fighter, or you don't come to my game. because by level 15, everyone has an out for that in Pathfinder First Edition. Probably, if not, you just hug the wizard and he'll cast Fly on you, and you'll carry the wizard because then he didn't have to cast Fly on him, and off you go.
I mean,
or
like Ignatius's and Ark's out of that was having so many hit points that you couldn't kill them with fall damage.
Yeah,
but we can't keep talking.
Would just cast Spider Climb.
Can't keep discussing Catfall the whole time. We got to move on.
Oh, we can't.
Magical crafting.
Now let's talk about surviving in a vacuum.
Yeah, that's...
They don't have that feat. That was the only thing about the skill feats that irritated me, is they mentioned, like, you could survive in the vacuum of space, and then they don't give you the feat that tells you how to survive.
How can you do that as a skill? What skill is going to be legendary enough?
You hold your breath real good, Adam. You hold your breath real good, and you flex your abs so your lungs don't explode out your mouth.
So I'm hoping personally that it's occultism. So you just like literally turn into a Cthulhu, and then you can survive in the void. Just
I mean, you know what? Okay, to be fair, I think that would be super cool. Like if you got ejected into the vacuum of space and you had legendary occultism proficiency, and you just like carved a little like diagram in your chest, and it stopped you from dying in vacuum. That would be about the most real quick metal shit I had ever heard in my entire life.
I don't think that's how it's going to be.
Adam, I'm picturing if playing Vivania in second edition and I get 15th level to choose legendary occult, Vivania would probably do that just to be the most metal BDS.
The BDSM princess.
Yeah.
Zon-Kuthon will be pissed that you've converted to the Great Old Ones.
Well, no, I don't know that he would.
Technically a Great Old One.
The best and the prettiest, ugliest Zon-Kuthon holy symbol to survive outside there.
Yeah, Zon-Kuthon's backstory is
in your chest.
Zon-Kuthon/Dubral's backstory kind of ties in with that whole thing. So. Actually, with the old one, so we're not even going there this time. That's speculation.
That's actually next week on Black Dragon Gaming. We're covering Odin this week at a homebrew, and then after that, we're going over to a core deity.
Yeah, I like the Odin.
So,
Joseph was going to say something.
Was I?
You were in the middle of saying something, and then Adam and Donald.
I said Eodithian.
Oh yeah, those exist.
Eodithian.
Gonzo boars.
So you got magical crafting they mention, which is cool. You can craft.
You gotta have it. It's relevant.
Yeah, which again, it's a second level feat, and I mean, it's cool. I like that anybody can craft a magic item, given that they have some way of either supplementing it out or finding a way to get it done, type thing. Whether that's just paying a spellcaster to be with you, or are you working through it yourself. You can kind of work with it, and it does show that Chapter 11 is going to be the chapter for all your magic item requirements as far as crafting them. So we know that. But I like that every class is going to get some crafting, because
you don't have to cry to the full caster anymore.
Yeah, and everybody's going to be having something to do during downtime, which is always important.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're willing to fork over the money for scrolls, you already don't have to really do it in first edition.
True.
Yeah, but scrolls
then
cost
you have to
money.
Have spellcraft or use magic device rather. You had spellcraft to craft. Otherwise, you're just making cursed items for fun.
Well, maybe I am. You don't know. I could be playing a Weirwood.
Well, I was gonna say maybe you're tiki.
Cursed items. As long as the curse doesn't affect you, you can make magic cursed items.
Yeah.
Oh, you can. Actually, definitely. We learned that in the tournament.
I actually do hope that they keep that idea of cursing items or giving them specific requirements like paladins only or lawful good only to affect the way that they're crafted stays in, because I find that that's actually kind of flavorful. If you can, especially in a system that's going to be less about, hey, you have to have these items to be viable. This opens up a lot of, you still have almost the same amount of slots. So this opens it up to saying, well, you know what? I want to have a magic item that's specifically for me that only I can kind of use, or someone similar to me can use, and it's that's one way to secure your items.
And it makes it cheaper to craft.
There you go.
Okay, so to move away from the scaling feats and the item crafting feats, there are the legendary feats, and you can't take the legendary feats unless you're at least 15th level, and you have legendary proficiency in that skill. And the two that they bring up in the blog post is legendary impersonator, which is for deception, and legendary thief, which is for thievery.
You mean memery, as Adam says it.
Legendary memery?
Yeah,
we were talking about that before you guys got
here. With legendary thief, you become a Skyrim meme.
Yes and no, and I have a quick rebuttal. I have a quick rebuttal that I gave to Tommy the other day. Let me look at the names. A legendary impersonator is any Hollywood or Vegas quick change artist. You can Google them. You can look it up on YouTube. That's what that is. That's what it looks like.
I'm not upset about the legendary impersonator thing. That's pretty cool.
But the legendary thief one, aside from stealing the armor off someone, which I'll admit is a little dumb, but this is a tabletop game, so you gotta take it with a grain of
This
salt.
doesn't feel like a tabletop game, though. It feels like
Google
Skyrim.
Or YouTube, Bob Arno, who is a Swedish professional stage pickpocket who can literally steal the clothes off you in front of other people without you knowing. It's very impressive, and I think that's basically like a real-world sort of equivalent of what this feat represents. Your ability to, like, misdirect someone's attention while you take something off of their person is so flawless. You can take things off of a person that you would never normally believe you could take off of them.
Okay.
Be it their watch or their wallet or their tie, or in one case their suspenders. I watched him take off a dude's belt.
Well,
taking off someone's pants would be very difficult just because you'd be like, oh, it's suddenly very crafty, but you could do it. That's what I'm getting at.
My rebuttal is that if you try to, I have a pair of moccasins for powwow that you have to lace up. And they're like they're thigh high, not thigh high, knee high, not quite. Knee high.
I got a pair of thigh highs that I wear.
Well done, Adam.
No, not thigh high. They come up past my calves. They're almost to my knee. That takes a long time to thread. You're not going to slip those off me without me knowing, because it just takes so long. And they specifically mentioned something. They specifically mentioned that if you're legendary in your thievery, you could take the full plate of armor while onlookers weren't noticing. Anybody who's put on armor would be like, no.
I think it would be a confidence game. I think for the armor, I think it would be a confidence game. And it specifies in Legendary Thief, unlike Legendary Impersonator, which is 3 actions, so you spend a full round, so 6 sections. 6 sections? Jeez. 6 seconds to change your whole appearance. But for Legendary Thief, it says it takes at least a full minute to pull this off. And this is like stealing anything off of a person's body. And it could potentially take significantly longer. So I think the way you would employ this in a game is, depending on what you wanted to take off a person, you would have to, like, this check, you might even have to make more than one check.
There's no check.
It would take a long time, and it would be very difficult, and you'd have to figure out exactly how you were doing it, because long cons, like stealing the pants off of a person, are not as simple as just like, oh, I've got your pants and now I'm gone. It would be more along the lines of, like, you're walking along, you're talking to him, you spill your coffee on him, and you're like, oh no, you gotta change your pants. It's coffee, I'm gonna take you to the dry cleaners so I can get your pants fixed. And then you just, like, it's like this whole back and forth spiel where you gotta argue with him to get his pants off, and then you take him to the dry cleaner. Yeah, right. You argue with him to get his pants off, and you take him to the dry cleaners, and then you just walk out the back of the dry cleaners with his pants, and he never sees you again.
Yeah, but then that borders into bluff, not thievery.
Yeah, no, I feel like you should also have deception for that particular feat, But I think it's like if you do it like that, it's possible. With the armor, it would take a while. Like it'd be like a whole half an hour con where you screwed up this dude's armor and you had to like talk him out of it piece by piece, and you were like, "Oh man, I feel super bad about this. Let me carry your armor back to your guard post so you can fix it and put it back on." He's like, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, "Yeah, no, I'm super sorry about this, bro." And
I'm super sorry. You put on your best Morty voice,
him and he turns a corner and you dart into an alley and you're gone.
Rick Moranis stealing.
I'm imagining the imaginary thief pickpocketing skill being a pretty bad anime or manga scene playing out.
Oh yeah, just gonna shot their knees right after. Shoot them in the knees.
Just like, and then just run.
so I'm curious. So does that mean I don't need to bring my weave basket everywhere and then pickpocket and steal everything?
No, what it means is Kane either really likes role-playing rogues, or he's had there's things going on in Alberta that we aren't aware of because he's put a lot of thought into this.
Hey man, I really like the confidence game. I'm real bad at it, but I think it's super cool.
Well, I'm totally okay with the way you're presenting that, Kane. That's not how it's presented in the feat, but that's, I mean...
Well, they call it thievery, and I feel like part of thievery can involve the confidence game. I realize that's deception, and I agree with you, but I think part of thievery, the way it's presented in this feat, is, the confidence game is part of it. Thievery, the skill is vague enough that it includes, burglary, it includes second story work, it includes, I don't know, knocking a dude around for his pocket money.
Ocean's 11, thuggery...
I don't know.
I know those two don't go together, but knocking a dude around is thuggery.
Yeah, but that'd be intimidating.
Ocean's 11 them. Get them.
For a one shot for second edition, having a heist one shot where everyone play rogues, that would be interesting to have a level 15 one shot to see all this legendary actions being used in that.
I mean, I'll have super good catfall. We'll jump out of the building and walk away.
I'm just saying. If we're level 17 and the wizard wants to spend his time creating a demi-plane while I steal a dude's pants, I don't feel like I should be penalized for taking pants while this dude is fucking with the laws of reality.
The difference is that messing with the laws of reality requires resource management. But
he spends money to create a demi-plane that he has ultimate dominion over. I got a pair of slacks from Gigi Armani's.
But these aren't slacks, that's my idea. You take a -5
penalty. +5 Vorpal slacks. You enchanted your pants to beat someone to death.
Yeah, you pick him in his neck and his head flies off.
So, I mean, to challenge a legendary thief, you can't...
Yeah, gambit him.
I mean, you only take a -5 on the thievery check. At level 15, it's been pointed out, that's not a lot.
It's gonna be like a 50. I'm gonna roll a 50 thievery, and I'm gonna have that man's pants. They're gonna be mine.
If you succeed...
I want his pants!
I want the underwear, too. I want to leave this guy naked in the street.
Again, Kane, your confidence game goes to a different skill.
I'm picturing now a pro character in Nordic Caliber would probably do something like this and could get away with it being a Calistriite.
No, he's way too busy getting you guys lost in the dark
dongles just flapping in the breeze like a windsock.
So
I think you guys need to have Kane play Skyrim on IOPC and make him play the Master Thief, because I'd watch that. That's hilarious.
I'd have to have someone play with me. I can't play Skyrim by myself. I just can't do it.
That mom, oh yeah, you haven't played Skyrim that much. Oh, Kane, I forgot. Oh, I'm so sorry.
To walk me through it.
Oh, you poor Kane.
He doesn't even know the memory he's making.
Oh, Lord, boy.
My poor pumpkin boy.
I've reverse pickpocketed a grenade into someone's pants. I know how this game works.
Holy shit!
Which is also a thing that you can do with Legendary Thief, but that's beside the point. Alright, I think we've discussed enough about feats and scaling, and I think there's going to be certain feats that are just not going to work well with. I don't know. I'm concerned about how the power scaling is going with skills being able to do that. I understood that it's kind of accepted that spells do that type of stuff, but we're talking about non-magical effects. So
yeah, that was my
that's
big
the issue,
disparity. Was when I got there, I'm like, this is weird. This is strange.
Like skill feats as the death of caster supremacy, because it feels really bad to get styled on by the wizard in the late game because I chose to be real good at sorting dudes, and this guy has a palace made of gold encrusted in diamonds, and like I don't know. I don't know the words for it, but bitches everywhere on the ground and in my hair.
Late game mazes.
Yeah, late game pimp wizard mazes. And then here's, Gideon, who's a paladin, so he's real righteous and stuff, and he's got his inn, and he's living the happy, humble life, but he's living the happy, humble life while Mazes is, like, riding a limousine through Asmodeus's front lawn, like, what up, bitch? And he just, like, throws a gold brick at Asmodeus, and he's like, yo! And then he drives away, and, like, he does that shit all the time. Why? Because he's a 20th level wizard, and he can do whatever the shit he wants.
Y'all won't be at 20th level when we stop Rise of the Rune Lords, but that.
No.
Why not? Why won't you take us to the end of the game?
Because the end of the AP ends at like 17th for a 4-person party, and there's like 6 of us.
Well, don't you know there's another Rune Lord. It's the Rune Lord of the sin of obsessive cleaners, and his name is Windexaw. And
Windexaw, the truest Rune Lord. He's
like
protected by
obsessively
several layers
compulsive
of force shielding that are all perfectly clean.
There's a spray attachment.
The only way to get through them is for Magpie to run into them and leave that weird bird-shaped dust cloud.
All right.
And he's like, no, the perfect sheen has been ruined, and then it just disappears. And
Adam, I just had a thought for Lucia. Whenever I get to have the permanency spell learn.
Hey, that's soon. You guys are almost 10th level.
I would probably be picking up the prestigiation cantrip and have it permanently on her all the time.
That's the spell we're talking about getting permanency. With the power of permanency, you just want to have clean clothes.
All the time.
You're just making yourself a target for Kane. He's going to want all those clean clothes.
yeah.
Permanently clean clothes. All right, everyone. Thank you for coming by to the Planar Crossroads. We hope you enjoyed our conversation. We talked a bit about things. My concerns, and I don't feel like skill feats are the way to properly do the death of the full caster supremacy, but I think that's already been accomplished in the class feats. But that's just me. We're going to go ahead and sign off because we could talk all night, because we have in the past after the call's in.
We probably will tonight.
So that's all said. Have a great day. God bless and enjoy. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.